All right. So let's learn. So we are up to halacha tes, klal beis halacha tes, right? We're continuing in the
Yes.
parak that discusses the three thing. The what's it called? Bapei tzlos, the heter of speaking lashon hara. So, like you said, it's certainly also to speak lashon hara to three people. The more people you speak to, the more iser. The heter would be that perhaps if lashon hara was said in front of three people, and there's the concept of Apei Flossa, because a chaver islay, we say everyone has a friend, and once three people know it, it's just a question of time, and it's public knowledge, something that's public knowledge, really public knowledge. So perhaps it's not speaking lashon hara. But then he said it would only be mutter if you would say b'mikra. Your intention is to spread the lashon hara and say bad about the person. It's also anyways. Just if you happen to be recounting a story and it's part of the story, you have no intention. So perhaps it'll be mutter then, but then he minimized the heter again. That if one of those three people is a person who doesn't speak lashon hara or a friend, etc., who would not repeat that story, so then it's not considered that three people heard it. So you don't have that heter. And yesterday he says if the person saying the lashon hara in front of three people specifically said, "Do not tell that person, do not spread it." So then again, you lose that apei tzlosa factor. And now he's saying like this: everything we said until now, so far as discussing the iser of saying the lashon hara that you heard, ba'apei tzlosa. But if you're not allowed to add even one word to the story because that's yours. That's not the person who said it, and there's no apei tzlosa on that. Or in any way to Latin
Embellish.
what?
Embellish?
Well, I don't know if it's to embellish mamish or just to sell the story better.
Uh-huh.
To the person you're speaking to. Oh, like you add that, and it's right, it's true. What they're saying about Shimon, it's correct. Zevade also that's also for sure, because you don't have the apei tzlosa on that. The first person didn't say that. That's your addition. Tumakalko is because you're ruining the person it's about with what you're saying. More than would have resulted with just leaving it into the head of apei tzlosa. And besides that, if you're selling the story, so to speak, adding to the story, then that's a clear indication that you believe the story. And you're not allowed to believe it, right? That's an issue of Kabbalah Lashon. And that's certainly also according to everybody. As we will in Mitzvah Hashem explain in Klal Zayin Sif Aleph Ayin Sham. Therefore, concludes the Chofetz Chaim. It says if you have to be very careful, even if it's public knowledge about a person that the guy did something wrong when he was younger. But since then, he's not doing it anymore. He's acting properly. Or there's public knowledge that this guy's parents acted wrong. But he's not going in their ways. And we're talking about something that Alpia Emes, so he didn't do anything wrong. Also, the Ganoiso was this. You're not allowed to degrade him, disgrace him by the others for this thing. if his parents did wrong, what's it have to do with him? If he did wrong, but since then he's acting right, he did tshuva. So, in other words, he's saying, so even though it's public knowledge, the public knowledge doesn't help here, right? Public knowledge would mean if it's actively a wrong now and affects this person. Someone who transgresses this and says it in front of people, even if it's not in front of the person out, in order to disgrace him in front of people, even if he doesn't add anything on the truth. So now, even though we had said there's a heter of something that's public knowledge, that's the basis for the whole Apei Tlosa, right? But if that public knowledge sorry. Okay. So therefore it would still be Lashon Hara. Now as he's saying, the head of Apei Tlosa is if the Lashon Hara being repeated is relevant for now, and it's public knowledge, so then you're allowed to repeat it. But if it's not something that's relevant, not to the person or not relevant to now, it's old news that's not relevant anymore, then even if you exactly say it without adding anything, you're right on Lashon Hara. As it's written in the Sefer Shari Tshuva over there, each paragraph is numbered. So around there he speaks about Lashon Hara. And the heter of Apei Tlosa doesn't apply after those in even though it's public knowledge. PMS, being that on the truth, it's not disgraceful, it's not something that's bad about him. Much to be a cheskel, as the Navi says, Ben la Yisa ba'avino, the son doesn't have to carry the sin of the father. And this person is using that old story or the story about his parents to make him, to mock him in front of other people. V'da'oid, yud. The heter is only applicable to the person saying the Lashon Hara. The one listening, the heter and Muyades Teva Shemer knows if I know that the person I'm saying the Lashon Hara to, it's true, it's public knowledge, it's true, it's or it's not public knowledge yet, but we assume it will be. But if I know the person who's listening should take a Yishmai Kabbalah Emes, Al Shimon view that he's the type of person, the minute he hears it, he'll believe it. And it could be he'll even add and embellish the story. Such a person, you're not allowed to say any hint of Gnai about the other person. Because the head of Apei Tlosa is, I'm allowed to say it. It doesn't mean that the person hearing it is allowed to believe it. And if I know that he's the type of person that he believes what he hears as a given, then you're on the even. And everything that we've written in this cloud, as Easter, who I feel like Yaskin Masapa as a shame Masapa Mishnah Sisibra Bafei Plus. It's even also if I don't mention who was the source of the person, who was the source who said it in front of three people. I don't say, I was in so-and-so's house and we were sitting together, there was three of us, and he told over this story. I don't say who told me the story. Raki Saper, Stam. I'm just recounting that this is what people are saying about Shimon. Filhachi, still also. Because if you say who said it, then you're saying Lashon Hara about that person. The first person didn't have a heter Apei Tlosa, and you're saying Rechilas about a person that he spoke Lashon Hara. So that's also us. After all of this, he says, so take a look, my brother. How far you should stay away from this leniency of Apei Floss. Because it almost doesn't exist, the application of it. He says, and especially that even if you can line up all of the situations to fulfill all the kulas, then you still need to clarify. Time doesn't have a clarity whether the opinion that says Apei Klos is a heter, even if we paskin like that at all. Being that many poskim hold that there's no source for it in the Gemara. Therefore, someone who cares about his nefesh should stay away from this heter. Okay, so yeah, it obviously. I mean, I'm assuming that in his time this was a big heter, so to speak, that people will bandied around because he spent so much time and in cloud base right at the beginning, so to speak, to diffuse it. It's like no one says it now. I mean, some people will say it's public knowledge, but that's not the heter of Apei Floss, really. That might be why Apei Floss is mutter. We are accustomed. You open the news, and we're very gullible. We believe what's written there. When so many times, especially today, it's become fashionable. Fake news. We know that so much of the news is made up. But even when you and I were growing up, when more or less news was believed. I mean, just because someone publishes a newspaper or someone today prints it on the internet, who says that it's famous? Just because someone said that. Now we're very gullible. Whatever it says is true. So we have to be careful. Okay. We were, if I'm not mistaken, in Shabbos Gir Perik Zion, the last paragraph there, Hey Cheshvan. Is that right? I don't think we did that last paragraph.
No.
Right here was discussing how pure the Hevel Torah, the Hevel of the Tinyoka Shabes Rabin one, Hevel PM Tinyoka Shabes Rabin, that it had more power than Ayin of Papa's Torah, because perhaps they once had spoken, something improper, and that already you lose so much. He says, with this we can understand our weakness in a laxity in Torah and mitzvahs. She says, we see that a person sets his thoughts in his business to make it bigger, right? You want to expand your business. And you work to make sure that there's nothing there that's going to cause you to lose, that your business should suffer from. You expand much time and thought to develop your business and protect it. He says, no one normal would think that he would himself go and destroy his business, damage it when it's his parnasa. Says, and yet when we come to the desired goal, it's just the opposite. Not sufficient that Tahara overcomes us every day, that we should do more Averas, Afnosim, Sibas, Vinyanim, but not only that, we'll set up situations that even what we are doing right will suffer. Right? Because if we speak Lashon Hara, then even our learning and our tefillah, the bit that we do is going to be suffering. Hashem should take our eyes from seeing wrong things, wrong concepts, and we should merit to appreciate the greatness of the Kedusha Satara. By days a year, fa'u nafshaseinu v'yumtat v'reha b'pino mitvash. By days a year, fa'u nefesh will be healed. V'yumtat v'reha b'pino mitvash, and the words of the Torah will be sweeter in our mouth than honey. Koso anachmodim mizova mipos rov v'musukim mitva. Perikhes. Now he says we'll discuss the tremendous einish there is in this world for speaking Lashon. He says also someone who speaks Lashon regularly, he loses his darga of being human, of being an Adam. Actually, to the extent that he's worse than a dog. As the Gemara says, someone who speaks Lashon, it's fitting that he should be thrown to the dog. You know that it's an issue of Lashon Hara. And next to that, the Torah writes like Kelev Tashlichun Oisei. Vatamu Poshet K'mashikasa Maralmi Pragi says the reason why. Why is it that you deserve to be thrown to the dogs? Yaakov and Misharim Asman based at Tzarech Melchitz L'Shem was in Mitzrayim, and the Mitzrayim were dying, and the Torah tells us that the dogs did not bark. So the dogs knew how to control themselves when they needed to. So you, Hashem gave you wisdom, understanding. You can't rein in your yetzer. So you're worse than the dog. The dog knows how to control its mouth when it's not supposed to, and you couldn't. The Gemara says further in Erican, it's fitting that he should be stoned. So there's a hekashev, tzamtzu and atzmis, and v'yadu even bi, throw stones at me. So he's saying, even in this world, I'll tell you, I remember, used to say a short cheer in the yeshiva, at Shmiras haLashon, I don't remember when, and it's say for half the time. And a guy said to me, so Rebbe, so I have nothing to say then, I can't speak. And I said, look at yourself. You're saying that if you can't say bad about somebody, you have nothing to say. That's a very defining statement about yourself. Right? He's saying, so your whole mitzias is degraded if that's where you're at. That you have nothing to say if you can't say bad about someone. Are you stuck? Give it a look in the mirror. You got to change that. How go? This is like a kipelas moizem mishpat Hashem. Pelas moznai are like the measuring sticks, the scales of the mishpat Hashem. In other words, the Chazal are vibrant. The Bishvol Bey is Perek Zayin. It says there, take about Ha'amaisa Sha'ona David L'Tziva. That David HaMelech responded to Tziva. He granted to Tziva all the belongings of Mephibosheth. So that was an actual Kabbalah Lashon Hara. Fidas Ezem Amoraim. That what happened there, according to some of the Amoraim, take a look in Shabbos, was an expression, I think that David was Makabel Lashon Hara. So what does it say? The cost of a David Ad Bachurim. He reached this place. And Hine, a person is coming out, he's from maybe Mishpachas Mishpachas, Mitevis v'hine mashma t'shayach zelamala. He says the word hine connects you to what it said beforehand. Ach miyuchal lamal is goy the kedushas adonenu David alav Hashem. He says who could express the greatness of our master David alav Hashem shekiv alas medin shamayim, that he accepted on himself the decree mishamayim v'lahinichal Avisha ben Tzruya l'goy b'Shimri ben Gera. He didn't allow Avishai ben Tzruya to touch Shimri ben Gera, who had cursed him. Vama Hashem amalek halo. He said he's just a shliach. Hashem told him to curse. Even though David didn't know that was being a punishment for him, but his first reaction was, no one could hurt me unless it's from Hashem. That's how great he was. Yet, he accepted upon himself all the degradations and disgraces that Shimi was saying about him. He threw stones at him. He cursed him. He threw dirt at him. Much because of because the Torah tells us. And he accepted it as a gzera from Hashem. So what's he trying to say? He's trying to say, I think, that but really it all was because he had accepted Lashon Hara about Mephibosheth. He's saying, so you can see how Kodesh Baruch Hu is like mamish, exactly what you're supposed to get, you get. You accept the Lashon Hara, so now you're getting blasted yourself. Okay, let's stop here. Zayin Cheshvin.